And joining us to discuss further is John Gardner, an entrepreneur with 2 decades of experience in American manufacturing. He's author of the book, Manufacture Local, How to Make America the Manufacturing Superpower of the World. So good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. President Trump, moments ago, calling the ruling ridiculous, but also saying it confirms more powerful alternatives. Your reactions to what happened this morning?
I think President Trump's right and the Supreme Court is wrong. The Supreme Court or the Congress gave the president the powers to declare emergencies. And there's no bigger emergency than a national deficit. We're a $1 trillion deficit. Our dollar was going to build the rise of other nations, adversarial nations like communist China. The fentanyl crisis, he used tariffs as a tool, an emergency to stop hundreds of thousands of Americans from dying from fentanyl, to try to slow that down. It's kind of a joke that the Supreme Court, says that emergency powers have to go through Congress for tariffs, when they didn't really stand up against all the pandemic laws and the overreach of during the emergency powers used to lock people in their homes and vaccinations and on and on. So I think this is against the American people. This is against how the founding fathers designed our country to be ran. The very first legislative act by Congress in 1789 was for the necessary for the support of the government, for the discharge of debts of the United States, and the encouragement and protection of manufacturers, that duties be laid on goods and wares imported. That's how they wanted our country to be ran. And I've been 21 years in the manufacturing industry, running a small business in the manufacturing industry, and these tariffs has helped me. My sales grew 20% last year. I felt protected from foreigners who wanted to invade our market and undercut me from state subsidized businesses like in communist China. And manufacturing is might. Manufacturing creates weapon systems. Right now, we are reliant on adversarial nations for our weapon systems. General John Adams in 2013 said, America's vulnerability today is frightening. This is 13 years ago. Excessive and unwise outsourcing of American manufacturing to other nations weakens America's military capabilities. I don't understand what more you need to fall under emergency powers and security. And Congress ever to act. I mean, there's even a joke. It would take an act of Congress for something to happen. That's why they gave the emergency powers to the president, so he could act quickly in times like this and switch dynamics. So I think this is a travesty against the American people.
Okay, John, a few more reactions I would like to get from you today. President Trump earlier just said that he found it sort of ridiculous that, this IEEPA rule, right, gave him the ability to license, to embargo, he says, essentially to destroy trade, right, with another country, but he can't charge $10. Your reaction to that?
It goes to this false impression that Rand Paul was saying, and seems to be in the neoconservative Supreme Court mindset, that tariffs are a tax. Tariffs are not a tax. You can avoid it by buying American. Tariffs are a fee, a toll that you pay to enter our market and be allowed. It is a privilege to be allowed to sell something as a foreign national in our market. It is a privilege, if you live in America, to go overseas and explore cheaper labor and explore less environmentally sound production capacity, and then bring your product here. That's a privilege. And so the president's right. He has the authority to actually cancel all trade from a country, but not to have a tariff. It is absolutely absurd. And I'm so happy the Justices Thomas and Alito and Kavanaugh saw the wisdom in what the president was doing. I think this decision is politically rotten, and I think it is against the American citizen, because it basically prioritizes foreign businesses and Americans here who want to undercut American producers, and basically diminishes the American citizen and doesn't protect them. And the President Trump's going to work around it all. This is actually going to turn out to be a bigger win for him in the long run, I believe. There's a lot of tools he's got in the tariff toolbox.
Yeah, he said something just like that earlier. He said this has made the president's ability to impose tariffs more powerful. He said that just moments ago. So, John, another thing I want to bring your attention to. So I saw this today. The International Monetary Fund said China's state-led growth model, have hurt other economies. A number of Chinese firms have been able to sell at artificially low prices. How have tariffs protected U.S. companies from China's unfair trade practices?
Well, China massively subsidized their manufacturing because they know that manufacturing is military power. And that's how we won World War II. Civil manufacturing might turn to military use in times of need. Well, Communist China wants military might, and they've pumped trillions and trillions of dollars into their production capacity. I mean, I believe, through all kinds of subsidies, free electricity for manufacturing companies. I don't get free electricity here for my manufacturing company in America. I think it was like $800 billion of state subsidies in 2024 alone. I might be off on that number, but it is way high. And so what that does is then they'll be able to come here without a tariff and undercut American producer has to pay, all these taxes, all these bills. And so what the tariffs do is they even the playing field for American producers. And let me give you just one quick example of how quickly our industry has been shutting down until President Trump. From 2020 to 2024, 4 aluminum smelters and refineries shut down because they didn't have the volume of goods ordered here. That was 30 to 40% of America's aluminum refining capacity. Imagine losing 40% of our capacity in 4 years. A new aluminum smelter announced their opening in January of this year because of the tariffs. They felt protected. Business would come here because the fees they'd have to pay would be balanced. So the tariffs work. And, we're doing it in a way that follows America first capitalism and not communist subsidies. And I think that is a beautiful thing. And I think the Supreme Court has harmed that. But I believe President Trump and his team, Dr. Navarro, everybody at the Office of Trade and Manufacturing have a lot of workarounds.
Okay, on that note, I have just one final question relating to what you just said. We talked about how President Trump has stronger alternatives. Do you expect, what is your feeling here on whether this is going to have a significant impact on the economy? What's your feeling?
I think that Goldman Sachs just predicted that this won't have much of an effect and the tariffs are going to stay in place. There's so many tariff tools that he has to use. I think the tariffs are here to stay and they're actually going to increase. I think that people are too scared to leave now, especially after the pandemic, especially with the more saber rattling from Communist China against Taiwan and the global instability. The globalist vision of free trade doesn't stand up in the face of war. I mean, you just look at like little minor things in the Red Sea disrupts shipping channels and stuff. So I think that the tsunami of reshoring has started, and I do not think it'll stop by this decision.
Well, all right, John, really enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.